Hi all, this week we're going to look at the 15 or so things that you really need to consider to make a great screenplay. Let's get started. But first, as always, thank you to everyone who's been helping out, making comments. There was a real lot of comments on the screenplay notes could be dead episode a couple of episodes ago. I thought it was going to be a nothing video, but I'd really like to thank everyone who helped out and left comments. I'll put a list of names just here real quick, but it was great, back and forth, lots of conversations, lots of very insightful conversations, which was really helpful. So thank you for everyone who's been doing that. Again, the t-shirt, the books, Tools Not Rules, logline, both what they say on the thing. Tools Not Rules is not for the most basic sort of person in the world, but it's really a good book. So let's get started. This is in sort of a order as you go down through your screenplay. First off, and I've got a few notes down there, I'm going to try to sneakily look down, but I'm going to be looking down. A compelling premise. We've got to have a story that people can go, that would be interesting, I'm going to sit and watch that. That's a good idea. It's the hook that gets you in. Let's say it's a space opera. We've all seen space operas from Star Wars and really bad things like Ice Pirates or Space Hunter. But if it was something interesting in that premise, where it's top of our head stuff, a spaceship crashes on a planet with primitive inhabitants, and now he's desperate not to leave, even though a rescue beacon's going to come in, or something like that. Some people go, I haven't seen that before. That's an interesting premise. It's probably going to be a similar story. But people tend to get stuck inside an idea where, it's a zombie film, so that's good. But what about The Walking Dead was good zombie stuff. It just wasn't killing zombies. We've just got to get out of the shopping mall and get to the high school. Look at that. They were all in a shopping mall with our movie Dawn of the Dead. We've got to get to a boat, or okay, we're here and we've just got to get there. So those walking through a minefield of zombie type stories, where The Walking Dead became a series that ran for years because it became about people. It was an interesting way of telling a zombie story. It was an interesting premise. Next one is strong structure. The structure is, normally everyone falls into the 3-act structure because that's why we've been telling stories for 100 years. You set up the story in the first, as fast as you can pretty much, but no more than 20 pages, say. Then we've got where the story is, where we're going to start building on things and having things happen, and then victory, fallback, more victories, more losses, all the interesting stuff of the story. And then we wrap the story up at the end. So it's satisfying, which will be a point at the end. The 3rd act, it just rounds it up. I'm not a big fan of falling into those really strict 3 acts, like you've got to meet a mentor, then you have to kill the mentor, then there has to be a reversal, then there has to be this, and then right at the end the bad guys have to come back, the dark night of the soul, victory, take the elixir home, all those sorts of strict things I'm not a big fan of. Some stories need them, some stories don't need them, all that sort of stuff. Some stories can be incredibly short, a 3rd act, like No Country for Old Men, really short 3rd act, nearly non-existent. You can have really short 3rd acts. In a way, if you think about it, Reservoir Dogs is 3rd act. You see them set up the crime. They're all sitting around talking about tipping and talking about Madonna movies and things like this. And then it's after the bank robbery. You see what's happening in the room after the bank robbery. So in a way, the bank robbery could have been a 2nd act if it had been Heat or something like that. But I'm a fan of short 3rd acts. But as long as it's a strong structure and it makes sense and we're not jumping around and it's suddenly a slow bit and a fast bit or whatever, a good, well-structured story. If you're going to start doing the flashbacks, find films that have successful flashbacks. If you're doing the film in reverse, messing with your structure is not always going to be good. Sometimes you'll have interesting things and other times it'll just be even more confusing. You can't give a bad story an interesting structure and think it's going to save it. It's just going to make it more confusing. Characters with goals, and people say, and flaws. A flaw, we'll address that first, I should do another video on flaws. A flaw is a thing that the character cannot see themselves, and it normally makes them make bad decisions. So that's their flaw. They don't know that they're overly prideful, or they don't like being told what to do, and as soon as people start telling them what to do, they push back against it anyway. They've got that oppositional defiance disorder, whatever they call it. That's a flaw, and it's a true flaw if you don't see it in yourself. You discount that person over there because they're super reliable and they'll always do the right thing, so you're going to give all your attention to this person over here is a bit of a basket case, and that's ruined that relationship over there, and that's a flaw and you don't see it. And you've also got to have a goal. You just can't have a story where a character is wandering through and it's a vague goal, as in, oh, he just wants to save his family. It should be something that the audience can sit back and go, okay, I'm going to watch him achieve that. It's good. Saving the goal is the overarching theme, maybe, but I have to get my wife to agree to let me stay home with the kids and not divorce me. That's the goal. That's the goal. I have to get her to realise that I can be a good father and I can stay here and I can look after these kids and everything will be fine. That's my goal, is to get into the house and stay in the house. Very easy for the audience to understand, because if the audience knows where the shot lies, as they say, they know when he's going to miss. They know when she's going off path. Oh, you're undermining yourself. You're never going to get to that goal by your undermining yourself. You're doing this. It allows them to interact with your character, and it also works later on for that whole likable character thing, relatable characters. High stakes. Your stakes have to be high enough to justify the story. You can't have this massive story where, I've always say this, where someone's going around and killing millions of people because of a parking spot unless they're mentally ill, and then it's a completely different idea. The stakes have to be high enough to justify the action of the person carrying out these actions, and it must be a high enough stake for people to buy into it, to go, I'd like to see how that resolves. That's very important to me. That's why there's so many like true crime, because life and death is on the line. And that's why in high school movies, but they were really popular, it was like getting to become part of a larger group, because to high school kids that were watching those movies, there's no bigger stake than being accepted or being liked. Liam Neeson's with the Taken films, rescuing your family, rescuing your daughter to a father is the most important thing you can possibly think. The stakes have to be high, they have to be big, and that will really make for a more engaged audience. They'll go, wow, I want to see how he's going to get out of this. He's got a distinct goal, the stakes are high, the goal's related to that. Okay, and I understand how the film's going to be unraveling, and it's compelling. It's set in a world that I can understand, so we can see how these things are starting to come together. I might even put these up here at the end. We'll run through them quickly. Now we're going to start talking about scene work, and I've always said that there's certain things a scene has to do. There has to be an exchange in power. The scene has to exist for a reason. It can't be a duplication of another scene and all those sorts of things. But there should be some sort of conflict in every scene. That does not mean an argument. It doesn't mean every scene someone's slapping someone around or there's a shootout or whatever. It could just be something as simple as you're going to talk to your friend who's your confidant, and they're going to give you advice. And it's going to be great advice, but because of your flaw, you don't want to hear that advice. So there's a little bit of tension there between you, like, why would you even say that to me? Why are you treating me this way? And they're saying, well, I'm not treating you that way. I'm giving you good advice. See, something as simple as giving advice should have conflict. There should be something in there that makes you go, oh, that was a little bit uncomfortable, or yeah, you get that. You've won that conflict. So there should be a power dynamic change. There has to be an exchange of information. One thing that has to be in a scene, either we have to tell the audience something, the character has to learn something, or someone within the audience, within the story has to exchange information. And the good one is if there can be a power dynamic. You've got that information and now suddenly you're more powerful, or you had to tell someone something and then suddenly they've got power over you. So that's change in power, and there must be conflict. The other one, which is more of a craft thing than a story thing. This was originally going to be craft element versus what is a story all the way down, but decided against that, is subtext. It's very hard to describe, but it's easy to see when you know it. So a good subtext. Two guys in a kitchen, there's a girl there, and one guy's just doing something as simple as, giving someone something. Could you get me the milk from the fridge? And the guy just goes, yeah, sure, and puts it down in front of him, or puts it down just out of reach. Or as he gives it to him, he might just say something that demeans him a bit, like, oh yeah, there's your milk. You know, like, you couldn't get it yourself. Or, here's that you've asked for, sarcastically undermining you. So it's the subtext. What the outcome of the words are, not the words. So what does this happen? How does it change their relationship? How does it do something? Not the words that are said. That's the subtext. What was the meaning of the sentence, not the sentence. And when you know how to write it, it becomes really easy and you see it all the time. I'm having a hard time describing it because I can't come up with a good example. I'll do a whole video on subtext. I promise. A unique voice. This is a rhythm, your perspective, these sorts of things. I have a different perspective on a lot of things than other people do. Everyone will have a different perspective to me. My rhythm is very character driven. My rhythm is very staccato. I don't do big long blocks of dialogue. I try to keep it really short because that's how I believe most people talk. It's like, yep, okay, good, go, let's go. Okay, that's it. Let's go. People don't get there and go, now, as we've all said, we're going to do this, and are you ready for that? And I don't write like that. Mine are really short. I'll go through a screenplay at the end and just go, those two words sort of say the same thing, remove it. Can I make that one sentence? Can I break it up? Can I, because I believe, I personally like to leave a lot of space for actors, not reciting. They should be acting and not reciting. So I take a lot out, and that's my rhythm. So my stuff is bang paste, bang paste, bang paste, bang paste, bang paste, bit of dialogue, bit of action, scenery, new scene. My scenes are short. If I get more than a page or a page and a half of a scene, it's remarkable. I did a 5-page challenge over at the school thing, and I think I had like 6 scenes in 5 pages, and they weren't short scenes. Everything, a lot happened in them. A big exchange of information. People learned a lot. There was tension in them. Everything that you need in a scene, but lots of short scenes. That's my rhythm. You've got to come up with your rhythm, and it's good to have a consistency in your rhythm and make it unique to you, how you're going to communicate. It's got to be, when people read it, they should go, oh, this is unique. And eventually, if you get a lot of screenplays and you write a lot of screenplays, people go, I recognize this style. I recognize this guy. He writes in the idea of that. That's him. I recognize his work. World building. I've done a whole video on world building. There's a whole section in the book, Tools Not Rules, about world building. World building is very important, even if it's something that's happening right now. So you're setting your movie in Dungog during the Dungog Film Festival, which is in a small town northwest of New South Wales. They have a film festival every year. It's a tiny town, population of a couple of hundred, I think. But everyone goes there. It's a good film festival, good fun. People like Sam Neill and like very famous people go to the Dungog Film Festival. But Dungog is a very, very specific world. And if you go there, it's not like every other small town. For some reason, you've got a film festival there. You've got all these thousands of people turned up. The shop's still shut at 12 o'clock on a Saturday because in Dungog, they always shut the shops at 12 o'clock on Saturday. They're not open on Sunday. So if you want to have food on a Sunday, the guy that owns like the falafel truck or the goslami stand are doing great business with the normal restaurants and stuff, and you get pub meals, fantastic. But that's it. You think all the other shops could sort of go, during the Dungog Film Festival this week, we're going to make bank. But they don't. And that's very specific to that world. So there is the tool for building your world, where you've got to have your political, your social, your drivers, all that sort of stuff. You've got to build a world, and when you build it, be consistent to it. There's the Japanese film Weather Girl. We'll say The Weather Girl. All the way through it, it's about these 2 women trying to battle it out and kill each other to see who's going to be the Weather Girl, which is like the most prestigious thing they want to do. That's their driving force. That's their goal. They want to be on TV, to be famous, and they're obsessed about it, where they're really doing cruel things to each other and are horrible. And in the final scene, for only known to the writer at the time, they both get magical powers and they're flying around the studio shooting lightning bolts at each other. It was not a magical world. It was a modern Japanese city that suddenly became magical at the end. I would say that's really bad world building for this context, because magical powers are never mentioned beforehand, but now suddenly they're flying through the air, shooting crap at each other. Be consistent in your world building. Make it complex, make it real, and make it sensible. If there's no reason why everyone suddenly plugs their head in at night, just sit and plug their head in and you go, well, why are they doing that? Every action should be deliberate, should be well thought out with your character and for your world. So the next one, your themes. So when I was saying before, you've got to have a goal, you've got to have a structure and an interesting premise, and your character has to have a goal. That goal should tie into the theme. I've said this a lot previously. A theme is what is your movie sort of about. If somebody said, what's it about? You go, oh, like The Lion King, Hamlet. What's it about? Oh, it's the revenge for a dead father. His father's killed, and basically the whole movie, whether he knows it or not, he's getting revenge until finally he can be the rightful king. Same in Hamlet, same in The Lion King. So what is the film about? Oh, it's about, let's say, the judge, Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. What's it about? Well, it's about a guy who thinks his family's turned his back on him when he's a kid, and he goes off and he becomes successful himself. And when he comes home, it's the relationship between his dad, who's a judge, and he's a lawyer, and they're there to bury his mum. So it's a father-son story, and they're coming back together. So that's the theme. Family, bringing everyone back together. And that thing, you can never go home because the world looks smaller once you do. That's what that movie is actually about. So you need to have themes, and it has to have and when I say films have to have a purpose, there has to be a reason for the film. So your theme will give you that reason. So if people watch it and you go, Liquid Sky was one when I was a teen. I watched Liquid Sky and went, why did I bother? You shouldn't have had people read your script and go, wow, that was a waste of my hour or 2 hours reading that 150-page thing. It should have a purpose. When they finish it, they should go, I either feel good about reading it or I feel bad about reading it, but I know I've read it and there was a reason why I read it. You've got to have some reason for people to read things. Not just, the reason they read it is because it's great. No, the reason they read it should be because it's telling them something. My brother, who's a bit of an English genius, he did comedy, he wrote for TV, he teaches comedy at a college. I think he's retired this year. But I said, what's the difference between a book? And this is because I don't read, remember, I don't read very much at all, brain injury, dyslexia, all that. And he reads ravenously. I helped him move house once, he had 3,000 books. I said, what's the difference between a book and literature? Just give me an idea. He says, well, a book will tell you a story. A literature teaches you something. It changes your life. It changes how you look at the world. Great literature changes you. That's what we're talking here. You should have a purpose for the story. It should change your reader if you can achieve that, if you can find a way of doing that. It should say something about you, about your world, and about the story itself. It should have a purpose. Dramatic irony and reversals. I wrote some good dramatic irony once in The Valley. The Valley starts off, the rough story of The Valley is post-apocalyptic. There's a family trying to get across to some communities I've heard of in the West that they think have survived this environmental disaster, which was the final version. And along the way, Dad dies, gets infected, gets sick, whatever it happens to be. And it's Mum and the daughter left. Mum finally dies, the daughter all by himself. That's the main thrust of the story. How is she going to survive in this post-apocalyptic world? The opening scene, though, is a man called Don. And he's taken a woman hostage, and he ends up killing the woman and the husband because they've taken his keys for his car. They robbed him. But in that car is medicine that he needs to get back to his town to give to his daughter. So he's just trying to save his daughter. We can see his reason. We can relate to him. He's going to kill anyone that's going to kill his daughter. Understood. He comes across Sarah in this valley. There's a bit of a misunderstanding. She does a similar thing. She stops him from being able to get home as a bit of a bargaining tool because he wanted to take something from her. He's a bit of a bully. The very last scene is Sarah being forced to kill him in the same way that he was forced to kill those people. She was forced to kill him to survive the same way he was forced to kill them for his daughter to survive. There was the irony that he ends up dying the same way as he killed somebody else. There was the irony of it. So I've written that sort of dramatic irony. Dramatic irony, reversals, where suddenly the person's winning, now suddenly he's not winning, and he's not winning because of what he did earlier. Very ironic. He's set up this It'd be like, you put landmines outside your house and at the front of your house, suddenly someone attacks from behind. The only way you escape is run through your own landmine. That's a little bit ironic. If you shouldn't have put landmines out there. That sort of thing. Reversal, great idea. Now it's a bad idea. Irony that you're going to be killed by the only things you put in. It'd be like if two criminals. No, sorry. Let's say I'm a criminal. My partner kills this person over here. I kill my partner. I go to prison for killing that person over there, not for killing my partner. That's a bit ironic. I'm going to prison for life for the wrong crime. That sort of stuff makes it interesting. A lot of people suggested this because I've asked a few people when I built this list, and they said, it has to have a strong opening image. It does and it doesn't. The image should set up the movie. It should tell you a little bit of something about the film. A good opening scene makes people lean in. You don't want people to sort of sit there and just chat. Oh, the movie hasn't started yet. We're just waiting for the first 10, 15 minutes. Old 40s films were like that. They took forever to get going. But a strong opening image, I hate saying that's the director's job or that's someone else's job. You should describe a really strong opening image. A strong opening scene or sequence is definitely your job, but the first shot, whether it be an establishing shot over buildings, like in The Dark Knight, if you read the opening scene, it doesn't say, I don't think it does, and I'm going to be really embarrassed because I've read it a lot. If it says establishing shot over buildings, I don't think it does. I think it just says skyscrapers, the window is blown out, and a zip line is established. I think it starts straight there. It doesn't start with the establishing shot, making sure that Gotham looks exceptionally like New York. It doesn't do that. It just says, bang, zip line. Guys are flying across a zip line onto a building below. Just come up with a great opening sequence, a good opening image if you can think of one, but don't stress. People that are really visual will come up with great opening images for you, but hint at it, give them a good opening sequence. Talking of visual, make sure you write visually. We know this, we've all heard this. Show, don't tell. Don't write, he sits there thinking back of his summer holiday and smiles. Just write, he sits and smiles. And we'll get across that he was just speaking to someone about the holiday he had when he was a kid. That's how you do those sorts of things. Write very visually. Don't say, oh, that's not my job, that's the director's job. Kiss my butt. It's your job until they hire a director. He's an adult, he'll make up his own mind. She's an adult. It'd be great if I could write something for Catherine Bigelow. She's an adult, she'll make up her own mind, but you have to tell them roughly what your thoughts were. They're going to disagree, they may agree. You might trigger something in their brain, they go, wow, that's a really good idea. I'm not going to do it that way because it's obviously written by a writer, not a director. I know how I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and do this instead. But you can't leave it vacant. You can't leave no visual ideas where people go, what's happening? I saw one the other day, and I said this to the writer. I was reading their work, and they said, oh, Darren's bedroom. Darren rings his friend Steve. Him and Steve have a phone call. And I said, yeah, the dialogue was all right. It wasn't bad. Got heaps across. We knew what they were doing. We knew roughly their age. They were 16, 17. I think they can talk about going to a concert. What's the room look like? And he goes, oh, that's not my job. That's the director's job. And I said, well, a room says a lot. Look at this room. There's all the guitars. I think I'm up like 15 now. I've got camera crap all through here. I've got my black magic, a little Iron Man heart. Up there, Iron Man's heart. I've got stuff everywhere in my room. So that would tell people that this is not a clean, pristine room of minimalistic thing, a glass desk, Bauhaus chair. What? No, it says this is a man cave to me. Yeah, sure, at work, it's my office, but I'm full of toys. If I've got nothing to do, see this microphone here, right? That's for a podcast I do in Canada from Sydney about AI. It's called The Bunker Project. It's really good. You should watch it. But it's just full of my stuff. That says a lot about me. It says a lot that I don't want to be away from my guitars. I don't want to be away from my things. I want to be surrounded when I work. That I'm sort of neurodivergent. I get ADD distracted all the time. And the best way for me to stay focused is when I'm thinking to pick up a guitar, play and put it back down. Polish an amp, do something. This room says so much about me. An empty room would say something completely different about me. A room with black walls would say something completely different about me. You've got to tell people that. You've got to be visually interesting. I also like to, if I've just got B characters that got nothing to do with the main character, I'll pull something unusual for a character. I'll make them bone thin and pimpled and look like a drug addict. Why not? The Uber guy can look like that. I can make them Mexican, African American, Eskimo. I could give them a Russian accent. I could make them Irish, Scottish. Be visually interesting. They'll soon change their mind. I can't remember which character it was. The famous one is Alien. Ripley was supposed to be a man, but they got Sigourney Weaver. Good on them, because that would have been a really ordinary film if it had been anybody else. I can't remember. There was one character that was supposed to be black and they ended up making it a white character. Didn't hurt the film, but the writer thought that'd be really interesting if it was played by a black actor. In my film, The Hostage, it ends up being two white guys. But someone suggested that perhaps one of the police could have been a black guy, putting pressure on a black criminal, because then you've got that whole, is he selling it to the white cop? Is he being faithful to another black man, or is he going to be a policeman? Is he going to be a cop? Is he being told what to do by a white guy? It had this whole weird dynamic because it was set in America. Ended up being two white cops, interrogating a black guy, because that was it made more sense to the story. But just visually choosing people and saying the room, and in this bedroom, they were basically standing there talking. So I don't want to direct on the page. I don't want to tell the actor what to do. The actor will make up his own mind. No, the actor will not make up his own mind. The actor will do what he's told by the director and the cinematographer. The Rust shooting, I'm not going to make any comment on that, but Alec Baldwin said he was sort of saying to the cinematographer, do you want my hand up or down more? So he was being told what was visually going to look better by the cinematographer. They act, but they have constraints put around them. And if you can tell people what you're seeing, they will disagree with you. They will come up with their own ideas. They'll make up their own minds. They're adults, they're artists, they're talented, but they need to have some hint. If they just see Steve's bedroom, they're trying to build a story in their mind. That's what we're getting people to do, to build a story in their mind. They think, is Steve rich? Is he poor? Is he messy? Is he into Nirvana? Or is he into the 10 Tenors? If he's into the 10 Tenors, why is a teenage guy into opera singing? That would all be interesting. If he's into Nirvana, or is he into Bieber? Is he into modern bands? Would he even know of Nirvana? All these things tell people about the world. And we're building a world right visually. This is a really good one, actually. Memorable supporting characters. I've had a video on this. Write for the B character. Always write for the B character. Because you may have a good actor who goes, oh no, I can't commit to this, but I can do the B because it's only going to be 3 or 4 days. I can help out for 3 or 4 days. I'll be that B character. And if you write really good B characters, think about this. You're the A actor and you want to do some good work. And all you're going to be talking to is basically mannequins. The dialogue's plastic. It's not very good. It's not going to attract good actors for you to work with because it's boring as batshit. You've got to write good B characters. A good B character can make the whole thing great. Aaron Paul, Breaking Bad. He was supposed to be in for 1 or 2 episodes and get killed, and then Walter was going to go off and do Breaking Bad all by himself and become this kingpin. Great actor. Anyway, but he also was such a well-written B character and he performed it so well. Bang, rewrite. Let's keep him in here. Let's keep him going the entire time. Then it became these two guys. He sort of showed Walter a little bit about, his original idea was he's going to educate Walter on how street drugs work and then get killed, and then Walter knows enough to start wheeling and dealing himself. He knew a little bit about street drugs, but he didn't know how to work in the big world. Walter was an adult. He knew how to work in the big world. He's worked at schools. He's had friends and corporations. He had that idea of how adults do business, but he needed this guy to be the little thing on his shoulder saying, this is how the drugs work. This is how we do the drugs. This is what we do. So they ended up being in the whole movie together, the whole series together for all the years that it ran, 5 or 6 years. So a great B character. My God, Giancarlo Esposito in the same series. Gus Fring, what a brilliant character. That mega so controlled, so angry inside. You could see, even though he was smiling, you could see that he was just boiling constantly inside. It was a good series. If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, shame on you, go watch it. You need to have a satisfying ending. I've had a couple of notes back where people go, well, that just stopped. And they're right. I just thought it'd be an interesting way to end it, where it's just tension, 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 end. And maybe you get away with that when you've got a bigger career. People go, oh, that was really artistic. What they said to me is that just ended. It looks like we're about to kick into a series. It doesn't answer any questions. It just ends. Okay, my fault. You've got to have a satisfying ending. I think it's got a dénouement where people go, oh, good, he won, or oh, he didn't win. But that's okay because he gave it effort. Taken. He's gone and rescued his daughter and all that sort of stuff. And at the end, even though he wasn't the big, wealthy stepdad who had massive parties for her, he gave her a little karaoke machine, which he proved he knew her really well. She loved singing. You'd think just rescuing her would be enough for the rest of her life. But he also gets her to meet her favourite singer because he works as a bodyguard for that singer. And that's a nice ending when you go, not only did he rescue her, oh, look what he's done. That's a really great father-daughter moment. Ah, that's nice. It's a good ending, satisfying. It's the dessert. I couldn't eat any more. Thanks very much. I am satisfied. A good ending. It doesn't have to be twee. It doesn't have to be, oh, and the good guy wins again. No, it just has to be good. It has to be, yeah, that makes sense. My other story, Amy, I haven't sold Amy. Someone read it and they didn't buy it, but they did say, I knew what was going to happen at the end. And page by page, as we got closer to the end, I was hoping it wouldn't turn out that way because it's a bit of a tragedy, Amy. And it still did. It's a good story, but it's not what I'm looking for. And that's got a good ending to it, Amy. So you've got to write a good ending. It doesn't have to be happy, it's just to be good. And you've got to have momentum and rhythm. If you start slow, stay slow. If you start quick, end quick. And this isn't scene by scene. You've got to have restful scenes. So if you've got fast-moving pace, you need to drop back to a slower scene. So let's say car chases, bank robbery. You have to quickly go back to the guy who's trying to help them escape or something. So he's going around trying to find a second car. He's going to car yards. He's trying to buy a car. Or it's the police back in headquarters talking. So I need 5 more guys. I need a helicopter, whatever. So you can't have breakneck speed because people get acclimated to it. If something's like bang, 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 soon this becomes normal. Watch Formula 1. They take off at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's really exciting. And it might go for 20 laps. By lap 15, you're starting to watch the nuances of it. You're not fascinated by the speed anymore. It's like, will he cut him off? Oh, look, he covered him. Oh, here comes a pit stop. Let's see how fast he can change the tyres. Oh, that was really exciting because that's something different. That's a change of pace. He came in, he stopped it. Oh, we got going again. You can't have a constant pace all the way through. You've got to have a rhythm to your story, and it should follow that rhythm. It also plays into, earlier on we spoke about your scenes, your style, your momentum, how you write your scenes, how many scenes you're going to have, how fast it is. So, but you can have a change of pace in your story. It should have a rhythm and should have momentum. The story should always be going forward, either a slow paced or a fast paced. But even these slower scenes that don't take they're not so fast paced, they're not hectic to watch. They should keep the story moving at that same pace. The story should have a propensity, a moving forward. It shouldn't be a case of like, I'm just going to nick out and go to the toilet. You keep watching, I don't care, I'll catch up when I get back. Because people do that when they go, oh, it's not working. It's slow for no reason. It doesn't have the momentum. It's exhausted itself. And I've watched other movies when my wife has gone, pause it. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to be back in a second. And when you come back, she has rewinded a couple of seconds. I want to make sure that I'm up where it, and we rewind a little bit. Bang, she's in. That's because that story is propulsive and it's got good momentum. So that's it. There was 15 of them. Like I said, I'm going to type them up and put them up here. Thank you to everyone, as I always say. And until next time, keep writing. Bye, guys.